I'd like to welcome everyone to this hybrid meeting of the Planning Committee. This planning meeting is being broadcast live over the internet and will be available to view online now and in the future. We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I have had no requests for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Those attending in the chamber, please be aware that we are all on camera and you may be visible on screen when people around you are speaking. And please remember to speak clearly into your microphones. Committee members participating remotely, can you please refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak. Please remember to keep your microphone muted when you are not talking. May I remind members that as per statutory guidance made under Section 4 of the Local Government Wales Measure 2011 and our formally adopted hybrid meeting policy, any member attending a meeting remotely must be able to be seen and heard by the members and officers who are attending the meeting, as well as by members of the public viewing the meeting. So can I ask that you all please use your cameras for the duration of the meeting? Thank you. Move on to the agenda. Agenda item 1, attendance and apologies. Rachel, do we have any apologies?
Yes, thank you. I've received apologies from Councillors Alan Slade and Chris Tew.
Thank you. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Niall, could you please ask members in alphabetical order to state whether they have any interest to declare?
Yes, of course, Chair. So if we can start with Councillor Ashley.
None that I'm aware of.
Councillor Evans.
None that I'm aware of as well.
Councillor Gordon.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Councillor Haller.
Nothing from me.
Councillor Gaynor James.
Nothing from me.
Councillor John James.
Nothing from me.
Councillor Janet Jones.
Nothing from me.
Councillor Mark Jones.
It was agenda item 4, but I'm not sure if we are speaking about that item today, but I would advise that as being acquaintance to the applicant that I did have a conflict of interest.
Yeah, we're not doing that item today, Councillor Jones.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to verify that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, and just to finish off, yourself, Chair.
Nothing to declare, thank you. Thank you, Niall. Right, we'll move on to agenda item 3, minutes of the Planning Committee from the 20th of November 2024. Members, could you possibly state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes? If not, I will take them as approved. I can't see any hands up. Is there anyone in the chamber, Niall, with hands up?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Right, we'll take the minutes as approved then. Move on. Right. Agenda item 4, as we all know, will not be considered at this meeting, so we'll move on to agenda item 5. Planning application 24P0379HH. First floor extension to front and 2-storey extension to rear and dormer to front, and extension and alterations to the garage at 3 Pastures, Llanarafon, Cwmbran. Can I ask Simon Pritchard, planner, to present the report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I've just got up the presentation. So as you can see, this proposal is for number 3, the Pastures, for a 2-storey extension to the rear, first floor extension to the front, and a dormer to the front, as well as alterations to the garage. So as you can see, number 3 is located off the Pastures. You've also got Carnarvon Crescent to the south there as well, in Llanarafon. So this is just an aerial a view of the properties along the pastures there, and you can see the properties on Carnarvon Crescent as well. And that's the existing block plan. So the existing property is a bungalow property, and it's got a rear dormer to the rear. It's also got windows at first floor to the side, provide windows to bedrooms currently. So as you can see, the proposal is for a front extension and a front dormer. So you can see the windows in the front there and the windows to the dormer. As you can see, these two extensions to the front set down from the main ridge by 0.3 metres. You've also got the two-storey rear extension you can see there, and you can see the roof lights in the two-storey extension, and you can see a Juliet balcony to the rear, as well as bifolding doors to the rear. Again, a two-storey extension to the rear, set down from the existing ridge of the roof, and set in from the side of the property and stepped in from the boundary, the side boundary. So this is a floor plan. So as you can see, it gives there's an additional bedroom now on first floor and a bathroom. So the existing window that looks towards the properties of Carnarvon Crescent, whereas previously it was a bedroom, is now a bathroom. And you can see the the roof lights to the ensuite and the bedroom there. So this just provides a bit of context as to the sites of the proposed block plan. So you can see the dormer to the front there, the front extension and the two-storey rear extension. You can also see the garage being stepped back and widened slightly. You can also see some proposed planting, and you've also got bat and bird boxes which have been indicated on the plan. So this provides a bit of context. So you can see the existing window in the side elevation there, which overlooks the properties onto Carnarvon Crescent. And as you can see, that you can just see the top of the existing flat roof dormer of the property there. So this is some photos looking towards the rear of the property, and you can see the existing garage there and the flat roof dormer. You also see the evergreen Leylandi hedge there, which is the boundary treatment between the pastures and the properties along Carnarvon Crescent there. So these two photos provide a bit of site context. So as you can see, there's been various applications throughout the years along the pastures, extending to the rear and extending to the front. So you can see similar proposals have now been built out in the latest satellite imagery, which is from 2023. So these are some of the proposals, again, that have been built out over the years. You can see similar front extensions and front dormers along 3 the pastures, and then you can see number 3 the pastures, which hasn't had any alterations, but as you can see, a neighbouring property has, and then there's a few other properties as you go up the pastures. So during the course of the application, we've had a few comments from neighbours relating to some of the issues that I've already talked about. So one of them was regarding the design, and again, as you can see from the existing streetscape, proposals over the years have extended to the front and added dormers to the front. And again, on the satellite imagery, you can see there's also been 2-storey rear extensions to properties along the pastures. Comments also related to being overlooked. But given the existing relationship there and existing windows overlooking the properties onto Carnarvon Crescent and the windows being roof windows, and given the angle of these and the step in from the boundary, these windows are considered acceptable. There's also concerns raised regarding being overbearing, and again, these have been considered in the report and in the determination in our recommendation that it's considered acceptable given the existing boundary treatments, the step in from the side of the property and the step in from the boundary. And those are all the photos. So our officer recommendation is to approve subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Simon. We have two speakers, so we'll hear them before we go into questions. The first speaker is Andrew Iles, planning agent, speaking on behalf of the objector. Would you come down to the table at the front of the chamber, Mr. Iles? Can somebody tell me if he's there? Right, I think he's there. You will have 5 minutes, and Polly Ellis, Head of Legal Services, will time you. And please start whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Andrew Ailes. I'm Director of AJ Planning, and I'm a member of the Town Planning Institute. I'm here today to make a strong objection to the householder proposal on behalf of my client, Mrs Edwards, and her family, who reside at 6 Carnarvon Crescent. Unfortunately, Mrs Edwards is an elderly lady who is a dementia sufferer, and she is unable to attend today, so I'm here with her daughter. Firstly, I'd like to summarise key local development plan policy, which I feel is pertinent to the proposal, and then I will relate this policy to the principal concerns of my client. In doing so, our focus is on the very dominant 2-storey rear extension element, which draws our planning concern. I'll conclude my representation by requesting that if members were minded to approve, the application should be deferred for a site visit, whereby access would be provided from the rear garden of 6 Carnarvon Crescent, my client's property, so that members can see the full extent of the concerns. Okay, policy B1 of the local plan is a general design policy which requires good quality design and development, and which is sensitive to the immediate and wider setting. The policy is very clear that poor and insensitive design can have a negative visual impact on the environment and can also affect neighbouring property, our emphasis. Chapter 5 of Torvine's House Extension and Alteration Supplementary Guidance contains clear advice on householder proposals, and I take a few quotes from this. Firstly, extensions that create an unacceptable sense of enclosure or appear overbearing from a neighbouring property or garden will not be permitted. Secondly, extensions should not cause any significant loss of daylight or sunlight to habitable rooms or gardens and neighbouring homes. Rear extensions may not always be in the public view, but it is still important to ensure the design quality is high standard so as not to detract from the character of an existing dwelling. Oversized side and rear extensions can cause significant disruption to the balance of the host property. The starting point for an extension should be to ensure that development would sit comfortably in the context of the existing area and locale. Referring to the relationship between my client's property, the rear boundary tightly adjoining the subject property, I note the following. In terms of scale, the extension to the rear is greater than half the width of the original building. My client's property is on lower ground level, so the 2-storey height and flank wall will combine at short distance from the rear of number 6 Carnarvon Close in creating an imposing form of development. As I note, the topography, my client's garden is fairly short. The applicant's property is tight to the boundary and at higher ground level. The hedgerow described by Simon in his presentation is on my client's side and is a natural boundary which, if the hedge was cut at any point, would obviously open up views. Noise, in terms of the plans, they show a music room within the ground floor extension. this would upset my client in terms of the tranquil enjoyment of their garden. It's described as a music room, but we see no technical information on noise insulation or anything, so we'd like further clarification. Privacy concerns. The existing home has a window in the apex of the side elevation looking towards my client's property. We'd be concerned that if approved, if any future windows were put in that side elevation facing the back garden of my client's property and into their habitable rooms, this would also be a concern. If members were minded to approve, we'd like a condition removing any permitted development rights for windows within that elevation. This is a key consideration on privacy grounds. Finally, and as I started with 30 seconds to go, it really does need a site visit from members if they're unclear as to the impact, given the change in topography. We note there are extensions within the neighbouring road. However, the relationship's not the same. They're not on the same ground level. My client's property is the one that is mainly affected. So please defer the application to the next planning committee following a site visit if you're unsure. Thank you.
Chair, your mic's on.
Oh, sorry about that. I thank Mr. Hiles with my mic not switched on. Sorry about that. The second speaker is Ashley Bowles, the applicant. If you will come down to the table at the front of the chamber, Mr. Bowles. Right, I think Mr. Bowles is there now. Mr. Bowles, you have 5 minutes and Polly Ellis will time you. Please start when you are ready.
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to come and speak here. I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd ever be at a planning committee addressing them, but thank you for the opportunity. If I could just set the scene, my parents bought the house back in 1970, and it was our family home. I lived there for more than 30 years myself. There seems to be concern about the music room. The existing house already has a music room, otherwise known as the dining room. There's a piano in there, and as a child, I and my sister, we learned to play the piano. I used to play the piano really loudly for many, many hours a day, and not once was there an objection from any of the neighbours. I can actually play the piano now. Some people even pay me to play. So I would argue that it's a benefit rather than a disbenefit, if that's a word. I deliberately employed the same architect who'd done the conversions on the other properties in the street to make it fit in and to be of a similar design. And as the planning committee have already indicated, that there are lots of similar extensions. There's already 4 more that are very similar. Mine will be the 5th if it's approved, and this is the one house that hasn't been converted. There's an argument about the loss of sunlight. Well, that doesn't stack up because of the way the property faces. The sun is to the sun is on the other side. I can't remember which direction it faces now, but anyway, it's in the report that the sunlight is not an issue because of the way the sun rises and sets. It's mainly in their garden, and in fact, the hedge causes shadow on my garden, and the house would not cause shadow on their garden. Sorry, just reading my scribbles. Biodiversity has been mentioned a lot in the objections. So a survey has been done about wildlife and things. There's going to be bat boxes. There'll be tree planting done, lots of tree planting done and other green things in the garden when it's finished. I also intend to make it eco-friendly as possible, in deploying modern techniques of rainwater harvesting, etc., and solar panels possibly. We could have so many bats by the time we finished, it'd be like Transylvania in Llanrafn. The issue of the conifer hedge at the side of the property has been mentioned. There are, in fact, in the boundary with number 6 Carnarvon Crescent 2 hedges, one in their garden and one in the garden of number 3 The Pastures. They, in number 6 Carnarvon Crescent, maintain their hedge to a certain height, and I make the one in our side similar to it. If there was an objection to the property being ugly, they could grow the hedge higher if they wanted to. It's not no skin off my nose. There was lots of technical stuff in the last speaker's presentation I didn't understand, but there was something about the windows and putting further windows in. There are no plans to put any windows in that are not on the plans. And there was also lots of reference to a site visit. Well, I gather, and I can see that you've been to the property because you've got pictures of it from somewhere. Several people in the planning team have obviously visited the property, and indeed somebody contacted me yesterday with a view to going to see it. I don't know if they did or not, but they asked permission to, which I gave them. I wasn't able to go myself. I think I'm just about done. In summary, I'd like to thank Simon for the help provided to get this far, and the advice that's been given, and I've done my best with the architect to come up with a scheme that fits in with everything locally and turn the property into a house for the current age so I can live in it in my retirement. That's my plan. And I commend it to the committee for their approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles. We'll wait for you to go back to your seat before we commence. Niall, are there any members wishing to comment or ask a question in the chamber?
No, Chair.
No, I have no hands up at the moment. Oh, yes, we've got a hand up. Councillor Stuart Ashley, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, obviously part of the crux of this is the conversions done in the road. How many properties have actually had similar conversions done, please?
Can you answer that, please, Simon?
Yeah, and so I think there's at least 4 or 5 that have had front extensions, and I think there's 2 that have had rear extensions. I'd have to go back through all the planning history along the pastures to clarify the exact number, but I know there's at least 4 front extensions and 2 rear extensions.
What is gentleman mentioned the elevation? What is the elevation on the building, please? Front, back.
Front, back. I'll just share my screen again, and I can show you. Sorry, bear with me. So this is the rear elevation. So it's set down from the existing ridge of the existing dwelling and set in from the existing side of the rear elevation, and then it's stepped in from the existing side elevation, stepped in from the existing boundary with Carnarvon Crescent.
Have you any idea what the sun elevation is? Where east-west? That would be interesting to find that out. Yeah, you know, whether the east-west would give us an idea of where the sun comes up and down. That seems to be contention at the moment.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Ashley, it's okay, Chair. I'll answer that question. The properties to the complainant's properties to the south of the site, and therefore, if the sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
Yes, I realise that.
Obviously, there isn't any loss of light from this proposal.
No, but yeah, that was the bit I was trying to get at. Where the obviously it's not homeowners don't necessarily have an idea, but obviously where the sun rises in the east and comes up in the west. So and then south elevation is is the rear by the sound of it. Or I'm just trying to get an idea of where the so the garden is in light most of the day by the look of it.
Sorry, I missed that last question.
Yeah, I was wondering which part of the property is in light most of the day. This does seem to be contention here.
Yeah, the report says that there won't be any loss of light to the neighbouring properties.
Greg, no, that's all we need to establish.
Yeah.
Sorry, as a gardener personally, it's the thing I always look at a property with, where the light comes up and where it goes down. Obviously, shading by trees is another important thing, but it's a very moot point if you have trees and you have property that looms over. Obviously, we're putting two-storey extensions on, and it's the shading potential. Those are the thing we're talking about.
Yeah, I think the applicant has said that the hedge currently affords shadowing to his own property rather than neighbouring property, obviously because it's to the north of the hedge. So yeah, there isn't any shadowing from. There won't be any shadowing from the extension. The roof of the extension also slopes away from the neighbouring property, which also helps in terms of its overbearing impact as well.
There's a couple of other quick things. One is obviously you've got Velux windows in there, where I've been in the past. Velux windows are very difficult to look out of unless you've got a crooked neck. Will they be above viewing line, the Velux windows? I can't see from the plan how they're arranged, but if you've got them above a landing, you can't see out them at any rate. But I'm just wondering what the aspect of the Velux windows are.
Yes, they are in the bedroom and an ensuite or bathroom.
So they are viewable out of. If you stand up and look, you can see out them, can you?
Obviously, because of the angle, it would make it more difficult. You've obviously got the existing window in the side elevation, which is closer to that boundary already, which already provides a degree of overlooking.
Right, and just one other very quick thing. I noticed the ecologists just talked about bats and various other things. We've got a wood there. This part of does that have any bearing on? Are we getting a bat survey on this? Just as a matter of interest, my usual topic on these things.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Yes, so there was already a bat survey submitted with the application, which didn't find any fauna there. So they have, as part of the proposal, submitted plans for a bat tube and bird boxes, as well as additional planting, which the ecologist was satisfied with, subject to a condition to get the detail regarding species and spread of the planting.
Right, thank you for that. I have no more questions.
Thank you. The next question, Councillor Carl Gordon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As ever in these things, the previous Councillor Ashley has covered a number of things that I would want to bring up anyway, but there we are. I mean, generally, these extensions or extensions are not out to keep in with the rest of the road, so I can't see the big issue there. I mean, one of the things which did initially grab my attention was this music room thing, and a sort of, you know, as the speaker for the objector said, you know, you are entitled to enjoy the quiet enjoyment of your property. I think the applicant's words on that have sort of satisfied me that that won't be a sort of significant detriment. Anything else has been covered. I appreciate the invite to defer this and sort of have a site visit, but I can't, unless anybody's objecting, I don't see there's a necessity for that. And I know where I stand on the sort of the application, and sort of I'd be happy to move to taking the committee's views on it, to be honest. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you. Does anyone else? Oh, there's another hand up. Councillor Stephen Evans.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to inquire, because the other questions have been already put through. With the parking, they advise there's 3 spaces. Is there enough room, you know, to make that happen, or is it going to be a tight squeeze for those 3 vehicles?
Right. Simon, could you answer that, please?
Yeah, we've considered that in our report, and there's considered to be sufficient parking for the property on the drive for the property.
Right. Okay, Councillor Evans? Yes? Yeah? Well, I don't see any support coming from the committee to have a site visit. So, as Councillor Gordon suggested, can I ask a member to move a proposal?
I'll move it.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
I'll second it as well. Yeah.
Thank you. It's been seconded. Niall, could you please ask members in alphabetical order to state whether they are for, against, or are abstaining?
Yes, of course. So if we could start with Councillor Ashley.
For.
Councillor Evans.
Forward conditions, yeah.
Councillor Gordon.
For.
Councillor Horler.
For.
Councillor Gaynor James.
For.
Councillor John James.
For.
Councillor Janet Jones.
For with conditions.
Councillor Mark Jones.
For with the conditions.
And yourself, Chair.
For.
That's unanimous,
So that's, yeah, that's unanimous. This application has been approved. Thank you. Well, that concludes today's agenda. Thank you everyone for your attendance and your contributions. And I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy and peaceful 2025. I now close the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Same to you.